Hello everyone, welcome on in. It is Betting Weekly Game Bet Match, #1 tennis betting podcast and YouTube channel, brought to you in association with Bet Rivers, your hometown sportsbook. The first round at the Australian Open is done and dusted, and we move on to round number 2. Before we speak to our senior ATP Tour handicapper, Sean Calvert, please make sure you subscribe to this video, give us a like, give us a review, give us a comment. Keep those subscribers coming up. We smashed the 7,000 barrier. We want to move on to 8,000. And the more subscribers we get and the more views we get, the more tips we can give from you. But I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing after round 1, because it wasn't a very good round 1, Sean. We didn't have the best of times. 1 win from our 4 selections. One of them was a bit disappointing, the performance of Goffin, but the other 2 I felt were a little bit unlucky.
Yeah, I mean, it was a tip in itself, wasn't it? The fact that I went for 5 and then decided to only go for 4 bets. Pretty obvious the one that I didn't go for was going to win, which was Mickelson against Tsitsipas. I think I perhaps got a bit greedy with the odds on that one. But you know, the Australian Open, I said before, it's a huge challenge. You know, we've not seen a lot of these players, as I said at the start of the year. They only played, you know, some of them haven't played at all. You are guessing on fitness. The other factor is for me anyway. I feel like the factor is money in this. You get players now. I mean, the round 1 losers check is 132,000 Australian dollars. That's about 82,000 US just for losing in the first round. And, you know, I don't want to name any names, but it's fairly apparent to me that players will come in if they're any sort of 60, 70% fit. They think, yeah, I can get through a match, because there's an issue if you retire, you know, in certain occasions you don't get your prize money. But some of these guys are coming in 60, 70% fit, playing 3 sets. Thanks very much. That's 82 grand. That does happen as well. Yeah, it's a very tough challenge. I mean, there haven't been many underdog winners either, particularly. I mentioned on the show at the start of the week, you don't get too many underdog winners here. Only, I think, 12 of the first 56, I think, won. Of course, the biggest priced underdog was the one that beat my outright, Mute, beat Popyrin, who wasn't fit either. So, you know, we've had a lot of problems with outrights not being fit. I think we've had, how many is that now? 4 or 5 outrights? I think it's 4, at least 4, you know, in the first 3 weeks of the season that haven't been fit, you know, withdrawals, retirements. Popyrin clearly wasn't fit. So, yeah, the biggest price underdogs were Mute, plus 285, 3.85, and McCabe, the Australian McCabe, beat Landaluce at 3.8, plus 280. So, you know, my strategy of betting is all about finding value. It is harder in majors. You know, you do have to take some risks on players' fitness. But yeah, only 20% underdogs winning. It's going to be a big problem.
Yeah, I mean, it's only day 3. I mean, we've gone into day 4. We've got lots of tennis action. Only the first round completed, and there's a lot more to come here throughout the tournament on the Betting Weekly Studios. So don't really worry too much. It was a bad start. It was also a bad start for me on the WTA show. I was on Betting Weekly Live yesterday, and I gave about 5 bets. I only won 1, but
WTA
the manner of well, there was 2. I gave 2 men's bets as well. Common Sala that we both liked, and Petri Perigard I thought would have enough tools to beat Monfils. The price got a bit attractive for me. Both of them going down in 5 sets, which is always, especially when they battle back from 2 sets.
I mean, Common
2-2.
Yeah, he got back to 2-2, didn't he? And then, you know, there's a bit of a break before the 5th set. Comes out, serving first in the 5th, which is what you want. Immediately gets broken.
I know.
So, you know, what can you do?
It was a bit frustrating. I mean, but like I said, it's only round 1. We are slightly behind on the show so far this season, slightly behind on the Australian Open, but we go through ups and downs throughout the season, and hopefully there's much more ups than downs to come, especially over the next fortnight and certainly over the next 10 months or so. Let's have a look at the outright market on the Australian Open. We're going to talk about conditions after this outright market. The outright market hasn't really moved much, but there are a couple of interesting moves. Jannik Sinner is obviously still the favourite, come through fairly comfortably. 2 tie breaks in the opening 2 sets against Nicolas Jarry, but then stormed away with the 3rd set. And a lot of bookmakers have got him now even money, or even some of them might have got minus money. So there's a little bit of a carrot being dangled there by Bet Rivers. Carlos Alcaraz, as we know, hasn't got a good record in this tournament. He's now plus 320 after his first round. With Novak Djokovic, I was far from impressed with Novak Djokovic. He's out to $6. Very, very unimpressed with him. Alexander Zverev, I was really impressed with. He's at $8. Medvedev, I mean, he had a heat shocker. He's right out to 20-1. And the big mover a little bit further down there is João Fonseca, who has just beaten Andrey Rublev, the talking player of the tournament. The 18-year-old really did produce the goods to beat
Not
Rublev,
an upset, really, was it? I mean,
not
all the tweets you've seen, upset, massive upset alert. He was about 2.3.
Yeah,
it's not a big upset. We talked about Fonseca on the show, didn't we? Can't remember which one it was now, but massive talent. We know that. Look at his odds, 40-1 to win this tournament. He's 18, 19 years of age. That shows you how good he is. We've talked about it before. The reason I didn't put that match up was because of the price. Fonseca opened at about 3.5-ish, I think. I think he drifted slightly just before the match, but it's still a very, very short price. The value had gone. Similarly with other ones, Christian Garin, he was one that I'd written down. His price reduced hugely. So, you've got things like that. But, Fonseca, huge talent. We've talked about it before. 40-1, though, to win the tournament. I don't know about that.
That's one of the best prices around. Some bookies are actually half the odds in there. So I think if you are Fonseca, I know it's a really tall order. But the thing is, we'll probably speak about his match tomorrow, or if we don't, we might as well speak about it now. But I think he's up against Lorenzo Sonego next, I believe.
Yeah.
My always strategy in tennis betting is when someone has less big wins, he's on the centre stage, he's on the night match, he's absolutely pumped. He's now got to play Sonego on one of the outside courts. I'd want to be with Sonego given the prices, but this kid he's very, very special. I don't know what Sonego can do to beat him, but we'll come on to that tomorrow. But how do you rate him? I mean, what do you look at this kid and think, is he a fade? Is he someone that's going to get value? But I can't see getting any value on him in this tournament.
It's not somebody that I'm going to be betting on much, I should think, over the next however many years, because everyone's going to price him very, very short. You can tell by this, 40-1 to win the tournament. More likely than Draper, Rune, Feast, Tommy Paul, Casper Ruud, all these guys. More likely to win it than them. I'm not so sure about that. I haven't seen the odds for Fonseca against Sonego yet. I imagine Fonseca will be favourite. But the thing with Fonseca is he's a great player. Goes for his shots. As I said in the show the other day, he's going to be a big crowd favourite already. Seems like a very nice kid as well. He's very good in interviews, even when they throw him some horrible questions. Is it the one they threw him today? No. After the match? She asked him something like, it was something about money, and she said, how many dollars would it cost to buy your talent? That was the question she gave him at the end of the match, and he handled it brilliantly. He thought about it for a couple of seconds, and then he said, well, as Roger Federer said, it's not about talent, it's about the hard work as well, which was a great answer. We put him on the spot just right after the match with a ridiculous question like that. He's the future of tennis probably at this moment in time as we're looking at it. Great for Brazilian tennis. They've not had a real top class men's player for quite a long time. I'm looking forward to watching him over the next few years. He's a real breath of fresh air at the moment.
You said that he might be favourite against Sonego. He's actually minus 450 to win that match.
Which is what?
450.
1 point.
Well, it's 2-9. It's
1.2 something.
1.18. 1.18. 1.2.
That's a little bit crazy. The worry I would have with him is when his game's not. Well, it's twofold really. When his game isn't firing, he goes for his shots. He hits a lot of winners. When he's missing, that's the question. How is he going to be able to kind of get himself together if he has a couple of sets where he's just missing by a few inches here and there? He's not feeling it. Then he's got to grind it out. Is he capable of doing that? Well, we'll see. The other issue that is yet to be resolved is obviously stamina. He's very, very young. Fortunately for him, it's not that hot in Australia at the minute. But if he's to go sort of a really long 4 or maybe a 5 with Sonego, how's he going to shape up in the next round? He'll probably have to play. Looking at the draw, I think he's probably going to have to play Medvedev, isn't he, at some point? Tiafoe, then Medvedev. It's a big assumption that he's going to be able to just, come through very, very long matches. He's breezed through Rublev today, straight sets. When it gets to 4-5, we'll see.
Certainly, the future of men's tennis, João Fonseca plus 41, big move on the day. Alejandro Zverev, a big move as well in the same direction, and the ones going in the opposite direction, Novak Djokovic and Daniil Medvedev. Let's look at the matches before we go on to the matches. Sean, conditions, has it come through? All the data come through on round one? Is it what you expected? Is it look quicker than we thought, or is it slower than we thought? What's the data said?
It's about the same. The first 112 matches is all we've got, and most of those were qualifying. And it's pretty much the same as last year, a little bit down actually. But the fact is, a lot of those matches are qualifying. We haven't had the data through for all the first round matches yet, but from what I've seen, it looks pretty much the same as it was before. A medium-paced hardcourt which plays quicker in the day and slower at night. And you've got to think about the scheduling. I mean, the Popyrin match, for example. Why on earth would you put Alexei Popyrin as an Australian? Why would Tennis Australia put him on really late at night against Moutet in conditions that are probably too slow for Popyrin? And then Moutet gets the whole crowd, the centre of attention. He loves playing that pantomime villain role. Why on earth would you put him on then? And similarly, de Minaur putting on really, really late as well. All right, he came through, but some very questionable scheduling. It's slower at night, quicker in the day. Obviously, if the sun's out, which is not supposed to be tomorrow, by the way. There's more rain in the forecast. So tomorrow's conditions I wouldn't expect to be quick. I'd expect them to be sort of medium at best because there is rain forecast, particularly in the afternoon. It's only going to be around 24 degrees. So conditions, I would say, are roughly the same as they were before, but tomorrow's matches, I would say, played in slightly slower conditions.
First match we're going to discuss is tomorrow. So is it today? It's today, isn't it? Tuesday. It's
Depends
Tuesday.
Where you are in the world.
I don't know what day of the week it is. It's really
Which one are we doing first?
It's today. Roberto Carballes Baena
up
against James Duckworth. The Spaniard is -132. James Duckworth is +106. The total here is 38.5, and the spread is 1.5. James Duckworth came through a first round match. Much to our annoyance, he beat Stricker, our pick 3 sets to love. Dominic Stricker. Yeah, it was pretty poor, really. But Duckworth got the job done very, very comfortably. If you look at their records this year, they're both exactly the same, 3-2 in their build up to this. Very similar, done through qualifying in Adelaide for Duckworth and in Auckland, where it was a little bit slower. Carballes Baena reached the quarterfinals where he got beat by Zizou Bergs. In the early flurries with Bet Rivers, the money is coming for the Spaniard. He's down to -132. He did open up a little bit bigger than that, but James Duckworth does have the home support, so that levels itself out a little bit on that market. What do you think of this one, Sean?
I think I'm slightly annoyed, well, quite annoyed that the price has come in again on the guy that I'm interested in backing, which is very much Roberto Carballes Baena. As you said, we opposed Duckworth in round 1, and I'm more than happy to do so again here. We didn't get a showing at all from Stricker. Was he really there for the round 1 check, Stricker? Not being fit? I would suggest I'd be tempted to say probably yes on that one. If we look at the stats, Roberto Carballes Baena, he's miles ahead of Duckworth. If we look at a bunch of different stats that I've got here, last 12 months on outdoor hard at main level, Carballes Baena 50% win rate and a service points won and return points won total of 100. I talked about this in the shows last week. He's often very underrated by the bookmakers, who still seem to be seeing him as just a clay man. That isn't the case. The stats I've just said there, they're very, very respectable indeed. Certainly top 50 stats, if not a little bit higher. And Duckworth 22% win rate and a service points won and return points won total of 97. So miles better on that, Carballes Baena. And if we look at what Duckworth's done against similarly ranked opposition, it's poor. Carballes Baena is number 57 in the world. What Duckworth's done against opponents ranked between 50 and 70 in the world, he's got a 24% win rate in his career, so he's 7-22 win-loss. If we look at that the other way around, Carballes Baena, his performance against opponents ranked between 80 and 100, he's got a 56% win rate. So he wins a decent majority of matches played against opponents of Duckworth's ranking. And perhaps the most interesting stat of all, as far as Duckworth is concerned, is that he's won just one of the 18 career matches he's played against top 60 opposition at majors. So he's got a 6% win rate against players of the ranking of Carballes Baena in a Grand Slam. Current form is good as well for Carballes Baena. He's beaten already this season Francisco Cerundolo. He's beaten Alejandro Tabilo already. He's just playing better tennis, than Duckworth. Duckworth's a solid performer, but not really. Certainly doesn't have the track record against players of this ranking. And the way Carballes Baena is playing at the minute, more than happy to back him here. I might have to do a little bit of manoeuvring here because minus 132, that's become a little bit short. But I think if you take the game handicap, I'm just looking at the prices here on Bet Rivers. The game handicap, minus 1.5 games, is 1.92 at Bet Rivers. He should be covering minus 1.5 games over the course of 3-4 sets. Maybe even 5. I wouldn't have thought 5. But yeah, I think just add a little bit of juice to that price. 1.92, minus 1.5 games. Carballes, Baena.
Yeah, minus 109. Head across to the Bet Rivers website. Loads of different markets available. 8:10 this evening, Eastern time. Carballes Baena has been backed all day, or bet all day, but the spread hasn't moved as much, and that's probably where the best value lies now on the spread at minus 109 rather than the handicap at minus 132. So is that an official play? Are we going to add that to the first official play today?
Yeah, I think it's excellent value, yeah.
Right. So Carballes Baena minus 1.5 against James Duckworth, 8:10 this evening. Head to the Bet Rivers website, download the app, and if you do have a bet on it, you'll be able to watch it on your tablet or your mobile device or your home computer. Move on to our second match, which features another Australian. It's Jordan Thompson this time up against Nuno Borges. Thompson is minus 136. Very similar prices, really, to the Carballes Baena Duckworth match. Plus 110 for Borges. The spread this time is 2.5 with the Portuguese player, Borges, the favourite. He's minus 137. The total here, one higher at 39.5. Thompson will have the home support. He is the seeded player. He's seeded number 27 this fortnight at the Australian Open. But Borges has just missed out on a ceiling by one spot. He's 33 in the world, and he is an improving player. He's 5-2 this year. He reached the semi-finals in Auckland where he got beat by Bergs. Opened up really well with a good win against Muller, an informed player. And they've met twice before here, and Borges has won them both. Not surprisingly, first time around on clay in Estoril in Portugal, where he's from. 7-6, 6-3, but probably surprisingly on grass at the Ilkley Challenger in 2022, where he won 6-4, 7-5. So Borges here's got the head-to-head. He's improving. He's in form. Obviously, home advantage is a big factor for Thompson, but he's a lively outsider here, Borges.
Yeah, he is a lively outsider. Again, it's a short price on a favourite, minus 136. Thompson, I'd have put him slightly bigger than that. As you said, the head-to-head is 2-0. As you also said, you would expect Borges to win on clay, but Borges is extremely nervy playing in Estoril. That's probably why it's as close as it was, 7-6, 6-3 on the clay. You would expect Borges to comfortably beat Jordan Thompson on clay, but he does get very, very nervy when he's playing in Estoril, Borges. But over the course of the two matches, you wouldn't expect him to win on grass against Jordan Thompson. And if you look at the two matches, it's 106-94 in favour of Borges in terms of service points won and return points won, which is quite a big gap. I know they were a little while ago, those matches, but you could argue that Borges has improved since then. You certainly could argue that, as well as Thompson's improved in the last sort of year or so. But if you look at the last 12 months on outdoor hard at main level, there's nothing in it in terms of their service points won and return points won totals. They're both on 103. Both got very healthy win rates. Thompson had a great year last year, 66%. Win rate. Borges on 59% win rate. So nothing between him in terms of those stats. The Australian Open record, Thompson is not good here. 31% win rate and a service points won and return points won total of 97. Not great at all. Borges only played a couple of times here, but 67% win rate and a total of 102. So he's started his Australian Open career in superb style. Played really well last year here, Borges. I think he beat Dimitrov, if memory serves me correctly. And had a wrist injury towards the second half of last season, so he kind of tailed off a bit the latter stages of 2024, but clearly coming back to his best form at the moment. I'm slightly worried as well as far as Thompson's concerned about fitness. He hasn't really been fully fit so far this year. I think did he pull out of Brisbane? Certainly. I think he withdrew, didn't he? Oh, he retired, didn't he, in Brisbane? He retired against Dimitrov, Jordan Thompson in Brisbane. So he has had physical issues already this season. I wonder how he's going to cope physically and what is likely to be a long battle. It's going to be a real war, this one, I think. I would expect for a long 4 or possibly 5 sets with these two. They're so closely matched. I just think the value... I'm tempted to go with Borges again. I just think the value might have just gone a little bit. He was about 2.4 to 2.5 with a lot of firms yesterday. Now he's into 2.1. Maybe just a little skinny, but it's certainly a strong lean in favour of Borges at the odds.
He's playing the best tennis of his career, Borges. He's up to not far off his career high. Career high is 30. He's currently 33. He's one place off of seeding. Thompson comes in with an injury worry, and he hasn't got a good record at Australian Open. I think Borges here at plus 110 is a decent wager, even at that price. Borges wasn't nervy at Estoril when I was there when he beat Lorenzo Musetti this year. We bet to win the tournament.
Of course. The one time he wasn't nervous, yeah.
Okay, the next one, Tuesday tonight, 11:40 p.m. The battle of the double-barreled names. Alejandro Davidovich Fokina up against Felix Auger-Aliassime. If you look at the betting here, it's Felix Auger-Aliassime is the favourite, very heavy favourite, minus 315. He is in form. He has won a tournament this year. Plus 240 for Davidovich Fokina, spread 5.5. Total is 37.5. As I said, Felix Auger-Aliassime won the tournament in Adelaide. Played very well, beat some good players. He beat Giron, he beat Paul, he beat Korda, and he also beat Fritz at United Cup. So he's been the American players don't like playing him. He's played, I think, 6 wins this year, and 5 of them been against good Americans as well. Unfortunately for him, Davidovich Fokina isn't American, he's Spanish. But he is an overwhelming favourite here. They have got a very, very, very convincing head-to-head. 5 times they've met, and all 5 times Felix Auger-Aliassime was beating Davidovich Fokina, including some comprehensive wins as well. The last time they met was competitively was in Doha in 2023, where Felix won 6-4, 7-6. They also met the Australian Open here in 2022 at the same stage, the second round. All 4 sets were tie breaks, 7-6, 6-7, 7-6, 7-6, and tie breaks do feature in Felix Auger-Aliassime matches. Are tie breaks featuring in your bets here, Sean?
They're not, but I wouldn't be surprised if, not technically, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was several tie breaks in this. I mean, you said the head-to-head's overwhelming. I suppose it is 5-0. You would have to say it is, but if you looked at the stats of this head-to-head, without knowing the results of the matches, you would say over the course of 5 matches, Davidovich should be 3-2 ahead, because there's the only problem, and it's quite a big problem, that Davidovich Fokina has had is on the big points, because he's been the better player for over the course of this 4-match series. We don't have the stats from the US Open Juniors. Was it US Open Juniors? Certainly one of the juniors that they played in. We don't have stats from that. But of the 4 main level matches that they've played, in terms of service points won and return points won tells, it's Davidovich that leads 101 to 99. Only Davidovich Fokina, I think, could lead a 4-match series by that and not have won a single one. It's a little bit of robbery, really, as far as Felix is concerned. Both have held serve very, very often, as you can probably tell by all the tie breaks. Felix, 94% holds a serve in this matchup. Davidovich, 88% holds of serve. And the return points won very low. Felix, 33.2%. Davidovich, slightly better, 33.8%. So it's been a hugely serve-dominated encounter. We're breaking this down further. Davidovich, in these 4 matches, he's created far more breakpoint chances than Felix has, but he's taken barely any of them. So Davidovich has created 0.52 breakpoint chances per Felix service game, but he's only taken 11.8% of those chances. Felix created far fewer, just 0.32 per game, but he's taken 38% of them. And Davidovich has won more points on second serve than Felix has, 56% to 52%. So if tennis wasn't about the big points, which unfortunately for Davidovich it is, he should have won several of these encounters. What's also interesting, but not at all surprising, is that Davidovich Fokina is ranked 80th in the world in the ATP's pressure points ratings. Out of 82 players, he's 80th. Felix isn't great either, by the way. He's 51st out of 82. So, in a nutshell, Davidovich should have won several of these, or certainly minimum 1, probably 2. He has a habit of losing matches that he should win. They've played 13 sets against each other, and given the stats that I've just said on serve and return, it's no surprise that only one of the sets has finished in fewer than 10 games. All the rest gone to 10, 11 or 12. So, given also the up and down nature of both of these players, we know Davidovich can be a joy to watch when he's playing well. And Felix is very, very up and down as well. I know he's been playing well this season, but very, very rarely does he get things done in straight sets. He's only won 2 of his last 13 matches, Felix, in straight sets, and one of them was against Sebastian Baez on indoor hard. So he's been extremely up and down. Both these players, as I said, very up and down. So I think, given the stats, the obvious play here is either Davidovich on the handicap, which does scare me a little bit. But I think over 37.5 games here, if that's still the total games line at -108, I think that's a very good bet indeed.
It is still over 37.5 games. It's -108. I totally agree with you, but I looked at another angle. I quite like this tie break in the match at -113. There's been 6 tie breaks in their 13 sets. I thought that looked, especially when they've played at the Australian Open before, 4 sets, 4 tie breaks. I thought that's a decent bet as well.
Yeah, I mean, what slightly off-putting would be the slower conditions, which, by the way, you would think would favour Davidovich a little bit. But yes, you can't argue with the statistics. Some of these matches have been played on clay, and they've played. The clay won 7-5, 7-5. Another clay won 4-6, 7-6. Excuse me. So yeah, tie breaks. Very, very likely.
Games, tie breaks, long match. It starts at 11:40 p.m. We're hoping it finishes at 11:40 a.m. on Wednesday morning.
That'll be great. Unless it's been rained off for 12 hours, and then we'd be less keen.
We don't want that. The final match was a bit of a strange one, really, because it should be on the draw for today, but the order of players come out in the Australian Open, and it isn't featuring on the draw.
Yeah, I think I've got this wrong.
Well, we think it's going to be on Wednesday. It's Fabian Marozsan. It's good to get in early, anyway. It's nice to get a nice early running. Fabian Marozsan is up against France's Tiafoe. And Tiafoe is -220 to win this match. Marozsan is +175, spread 3.5, and the total here is 39. Both of these 39.5. Both of these players come through very, very long matches in the first round. Tiafoe came through a 3-2 win over Rinderknech, which was our pick. One of our picks in the first round was over 38.5 in that match. There was a long match for him. And Marozsan come through a tough one against Sabeth Wild as well, 3-2 as well. Really, it's a question about who's left it most on the court. And I know Tiafoe was really struggling towards the end of his match. I didn't watch the Marozsan match, so I'm not quite sure. But this is going to be a tough ask for Tiafoe to come back out again and up against an opponent who can be anything on his day. He can be absolutely brilliant, or he can be absolutely awful.
Yeah, he is a little bit hit and miss, Marozsan. I did see a reasonable chunk of that Tiafoe match. Just trying to find him on here. It feels like he played. I must have got this wrong, but I felt like he played on the first day. Maybe he didn't. Maybe it was the second day. Either way,
he played on day one.
Yeah, which seems a little bit strange that he's having 3 days off. If that's the case, but okay, maybe it is. He certainly didn't look in good shape against Rinderknech in that match. He did say afterwards. He said if it was any other tournament, I would have pulled out. So he doesn't feel like he's in the best of shape. I think he was sick on the court as well, wasn't it, at one stage? Not surprising that it was a tough match against Rinderknech. They were pretty well matched in terms of stats. So, not surprising it was a long one. But, I mean, Marozsan also had a 5-setter, which he shouldn't have done, really. He was well ahead on the stats against Sabeth Wild. Should have won it easier than he did, but made a few mistakes and ended up getting dragged to a quite a long 5th as well. So that could end up costing Marozsan. A little bit sloppy from him there. But if we look at the last 12 months on outdoor hard, their stats are exactly the same, which is quite rare that every stat is the same. Both got a 63% win rate. Both got a service points won and return points won total of 102. Both got a service hold and break total of 104. So there's nothing in that to suggest that Tiafoe should be -220, particularly when he's not been feeling well either. Marozsan does have a good record, a good career record at least, against top 20 opposition. He's won 43% of his hard court matches against top 20 opponents. So if you're just going on that, 43% probability comes to around +133, 2.33. We're getting here, what, +175, 2.75? So if you're going purely on what Marozsan's done against top 20 opponents on hard, that's not a bad price at all. What does put me off a little bit are the recent stats of Marozsan against top 20 opponents. In the last 12 months, just a 27% win rate, and the service points won and return points won total of 91. Tiafoe, 47% win rate and a total of 100, so he's a lot better in terms of the recent stats. I'm still tempted with Marozsan, plus 175. That last bit of research that I did does put me off a little bit, so I'm probably just going to have to put it down as a lean. But given that, Tiafoe has had his struggles and everything I've just said there, I think minus 220 is a little bit short. So, yeah, look to back Marozsan in some way there.
Yeah, Marozsan plus 175, spread 3.5. BetRivers have about 30 different markets available on the website and on the app. Download it, but Francis Tiafoe is going to have a very, very tough ask. I mean, he did leave a lot on that court. He was struggling at the end of that match. Marozsan also come through a 5-setter as well, but the energy and the effort and obviously the quotes that Sean has said there make betting on Tiafoe at minus 220 a very risky proposition. So, Sean, where are we? What are our official picks here?
I think the two best ones today is certainly in terms of value. Carballes Baena minus 1.5 against Duckworth, which was 1.92 or something, about minus 108ish, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the second one was the one I mentioned a few minutes ago, which I've now lost on my screen, which is over 37.5 total games. Again, roughly the same price, minus 108. And that is Felix Auger-Aliassime against Alejandro Davidovich Fokina.
Before we go, I'm going to ask your opinion on one match because I thought we would probably talk about it, and I thought that you may be tipping it, but I was quite very tempted to bet this morning, but I thought we were going to chat about it before I spoke to you. And that one is Mensik against Casper Ruud. Jakub Mensik's obviously the young, talented Czech player who's only at 19 up against the sort of, you could call him a veteran now, Casper Ruud, at the age of 26. He's been around a long time. I looked at the prices and I thought I've got to bet Mensik here at plus 120. I suppose I
did look at this one.
Speed. Yeah, what was your thought of it?
What put me off was the statistics. I haven't got them to hand here, but excuse me. Yeah, I did look into the hard court stats, and there was nothing in it to suggest that Mensik is value at that price. He's only a slight dog, isn't he? 2.2 or something like that. I haven't got the current odds to hand, but he's slight underdog, isn't he, Mensik? The stats, the hard court stats suggest that is broadly right. If anything, Mensik should be slightly bigger for me. I agree that I've said on this show many times that Mensik is an up and coming talent. He's starting to fulfill that now. But also, what's happening, I think, with him is that he's starting to be priced a little bit too short. I think he should be slightly bigger, Mensik, which is why I didn't mention this on the show, because the stats aren't there to suggest that Mensik would be a good bet at that price.
Yep, but I was quite tempted, but I thought the slower courts might be a little bit of
that's another factor as well. Yeah,
that's another factor as well. They've put me off a little bit. I thought we might talk about it because it is an interesting betting match. I know a lot of people have an opinion on it. Our show so far this season haven't got off to the best of start. Game bet match is minus 6.42 units for the WTA show is plus 566, but there's a long way to go in the tournament. And two winners here this evening will sort of dent into that early losses. And I'm sure that negative will be a positive very, very shortly. Sean, thanks very much for your time. Have a great day. We'll be back tomorrow looking at the conclusion of the second round as well. And we'll have an extra show later on in the week as well. Make sure you keep across all the content here on the Betting Weekly Studios. The WTA handicapper Rory Giovanni is on Betting Weekly Live today at 11 o'clock Eastern Time. Hopefully this video drops in time for you to get that. And also the soccer. We've got a big night of Premier League action, Premier League football on Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday. And I joined Jack Wright and Dan Roberto yesterday for Betting Weekly Premier League. It was a real good show. Lots of laughs, lots of bets. And we've been in pretty good form on the soccer this season. I think combined on the UPL and the European soccer, we're about 22 units up for the season so far. All of that's come from the European show, nothing from the Premier League. I must say that as well. Oh, come on, man. James Easton's 25 units up.
And he won at the Cube.
I know, well, exactly. He's a born winner, the fella. Though. He's got ice in his veins, doesn't drink, and that's an excuse for you kids. Do not drink, you become like James Easton. That's it for the day. That's it for the show. We're back again tomorrow. Good luck with your bets. Enjoy the tennis. Head across to the BetRivers website. Also, make sure you subscribe to the newsletter at bettingweeklystudios.com. Exclusive content coming out you every single Monday. And make sure you get that drop in your inbox next week. Take care for the day. Good luck, Sean. And I'll speak to you all again tomorrow.